Hey, what's going on?
Hey!
Hey.
What's up? Hey, we've got a bass demo for you guys. Carson got something new. Do you want to tell the people about it? Your new pickup.
I saw this old 60s K bass on Facebook Marketplace. It's beautiful. Not a ton of info out there online about them, but it seems like it's like a 5962, and some people also call it a speed demon.
Way cooler.
Right.
Way
yeah.
cooler than 5962.
It's like a K5962 speed demon, something like that, or 59 something. There's not a whole lot of info out there. Chicago Music Exchange did a video on a very similar one that the guy from Fleet Foxes would play. His was stylized a little differently. And there's like a couple pawn shop videos, but kind of what I gathered and kind of the condition I got it in was like there's supposed to be a pick guard here. If you can see the headstock, there's supposed to be like a big like Art Deco decal on the headstock, kind of like that.
Which is a huge odd shaped headstock.
Yeah, it's weird because it had this triangle decal here,
And it's got guitar tuners.
and
They're like
guitar
little
tuners.
babies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these Ks, from what I gather, like the quality varies wildly, but really once you get one, it has like a really cool thumpy, muddy in a cool way thing. It just has such a cool flavor, and so somebody wanted like $1,200 or something, and it popped up, and I was like, "Hey, I'm really not in the market for an instrument right now," and
Give them the business.
right. But that's pretty cool. I'd take it off your hands if you take $800 for it, which was actually a lot and kind of more than I wanted to spend. I didn't think they would bite on it, and so the guy's like, "No, can't do that." The guy clearly wasn't a bass player. He's like, "Can't do that. It's worth more than that." And on Reverb, there's one of them or two of them that are that much. And so I was like, "Okay, cool." And then like a month goes by or something like that, and then I hit him up again and said, "Hey, man, my offer still stands. Kind of interested in that bass. It's pretty cool." He's like, "Oh, I just can't take that low. I can't do it." And I'm like, "All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna hit you up again in a month, and if it's still here, you should give it to me for $800 because it's not selling." And the guy didn't like say anything to that. So like a month or 2 months or something like that goes by, like a long time, and he messages me because I forgot about it. I wanted it, but I really was not in the market. He's like, "Hey man, I'll take $800. I'll take it. I'll take it for that bass." And then I go, "Oh man, I'm really not in the market right now."
You had the cancer of Facebook Marketplace.
So, man, I'm just not in the market right now. It's gonna need some work, and so would you take $600?
Oh my God.
And he's like, "Absolutely not." And I was like, "Okay." And then it disappears from Facebook Marketplace, and I'm sad. And I'm thinking about it, like I'm going through my life, and I'm like, man, I really missed out on that bass. It was a cool bass.
That's funny.
And then it pops up again in Danville at a pawn shop, and I think it's listed for $800. And I messaged the guy. I said, "Hey man, I'm not really in the market right now, but would you take $600 for that bass?" And he goes, "Yep." And that's how.
So this bass is half off.
Half off.
So I knew it was, I knew I was going to have to get my friend Gideon to do some work, and this is a good time to introduce him. This is Gideon Maki.
Yo,
Gideon.
what's
It
up?
is our he fixes our guitars for a lot of stuff, and childhood friend.
That's right.
We all grew up together.
Yeah, Jessamine County represent.
Jessamine County.
So Gideon from GM Guitarworks.
Yep.
Uh-huh. And then of a couple great bands.
Oh yeah.
Currently Lilac. Currently
right.
Solo.
Yep.
Are you playing with anybody else right now?
Dana Vogel, I'm doing guitar work for.
Beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then formerly of the gem of indie rock, Absalom.
Oh yes.
It's so
They're
good,
a
dude.
big deal, man.
I mean, really, really cool. Like 2012-ish. Awesome guitar playing. Really cool. I love all that old stuff. And you
the
all
art
should.
was so cool also.
Yes.
For all
Yeah,
that
Steven
stuff.
did a lot of cool artwork for that. Yeah.
If you guys have the time, you got to look up Absalom.
Is it on Spotify?
Throwback.
and all that?
It
You know
is,
what?
Yeah,
Okay,
couple.
Link down below. It's
Right.
below.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on.
I did not expect
We plugged
that,
your old
that
band
throwback.
more.
Yeah, no, it's awesome and I love it. But anyways, he fixes all of our stuff. So
Yeah.
here's Gideon.
And
Yeah.
so I got this, and I brought it to Gideon, and I freaked out because when I got it home, like I played it in person, and it was wonderful. Like it had a feel. I didn't realize it's a full hollow body. It's not a semi hollow body, which I thought it was going to be semi because I wanted to do the Hofner thing. I actually loved it. It's so loud and responsive without even being plugged in. It sounded great. Got it home, was checking it out, trying not to like be in the honeymoon stage with it, to try to be critical about what's this actually going to need. So I had a bunch of sharp frets. And really the biggest thing is when I went to play something I was familiar with, it was tuned a whole step down. And I touched the tuners and they were like, could not turn them. And so I was like, not touching it. I'm too nervous to touch it. Not going to do it. So I'm freaking out about it because I was like, man, did I just waste even 600, like I want to use it. I don't want to just flip it. I don't want to whatever.
Yeah.
So that's where my friend Gideon comes in.
Yeah, so I've actually started wearing safety glasses in some instances of tuning a guitar up, and this is certainly one of them. When Carson said it was hard to move the tuners, I mean, it was completely maxed out with a whole step down, so we were both pretty
Just
worried
locked?
about that. I mean, you could if you really tried.
Get your socket set up.
He took like regular guitar strings and just cut them instead of getting short scale, medium scale strings.
Yeah.
And so like those tuners are not, even Fender tuners are way beefier than that. They're not meant for that amount of pressure.
Sure.
So I was like so nervous.
Yeah. So first thing we did is get some flat wounds. It took a while to find the right scale. Went through a thing on that, but we wound up with a medium scale. 105 through 45.
Okay.
So pretty standard regular gauge bass strings.
The labellas.
The labellas, yep.
One of the reasons too is because when you have an interesting scale length instrument like this, it's like you have to measure this amount of string as well. It's not just like Fender where the string is at the end of the bridge and then you measure from there to the nut. Like you had to account up for this different spot.
Yeah.
So we went through multiple rounds of strings that looked like they would work, but they would be like just on the line.
Yeah.
Were you able to keep this original?
Yes. Yeah, we kept that original. Yeah, so kind of, when I first got it on the bench, frets were disgusting. Couldn't really see any shine. So we brought that back. What looks like inlay on the fingerboard there is actually masking tape. And Carson wanted to keep that. So what I did is just slip a little bit of fine super glue underneath each piece. And then I used a bead of lacquer around the edges to kind of solidify them into the fingerboard.
Yeah, somebody threw up masking tape on these. And I was like, this is so weird. And they were kind of on there kind of good. And I played with it and I was like, leave it.
Send it.
It does look cool too. I'm glad you
such
kept
a
it.
vibe.
Yeah.
It's funny. I had no idea until you specifically told me that is masking tape.
Yeah, it's just masking tape.
Oh yeah, it's
Probably-
the crappiest tape you can get.
Maybe for lack of looking and attention to detail, but I
Yeah.
still did not notice. So very cool.
Yeah, it's a vibe. There was an old plastic nut with a shim underneath it.
Yeah.
When we first got it.
It was
Pretty bad. I think
bad.
we got a picture of that. And so I put a new bone nut in from slab, turned it into that, and then made the truss rod cover because it was missing that.
Yeah.
And then
The nut thing too, that's a big deal. Like that's above a lot of people's heads. I mean, it's above my head certainly to be able to mess with bone nuts.
it certainly helps with the sustain, and with an instrument that has this much character, it's cool to kind of I don't know. When you're adding things to an old instrument, you want to make sure that it also adds to the sound and isn't just like a meaningless I guess accessory.
Sure.
So we felt good about that. We had to put a little bit of a shim underneath the neck when adjusting the angle, because the action once we tuned it up to pitch, which was a little bit scary, but it ended up going right up to pitch fine.
Thank God.
The action was just still pretty high up at the 12th fret, and so to remedy that, we did put a shim underneath the neck pocket, and then I took a piece of sandpaper with double-sided tape, put it on top of the body, and shaved a little bit of that bridge down.
Yeah.
Because it is an adjustable bridge, but I pretty much, tightened it all the way down as far as it could go, and the action was still pretty high. And so between those three things and the truss rod, which is the first thing I adjusted, the neck is in great shape. I mean, there's not much play with the frets. I had to file down a little bit of the frets, which you'll see in a video. Thankfully, that truss rod is strong, and the neck is good after, how many years? 60 years? I'm horrible
70
with math.
years.
70 years.
60. 60. Yeah.
So
and this too, like I kind of wanted to highlight electric basses, they need work, and solid body stuff always needs work, but it's like I needed to go to someone who I could trust with things like acoustic guitars, which are substantially more difficult to work on than solid body stuff, because it's resonance, and it's just a whole different beast, and you can't always get in behind stuff that you want to get into. And so Gideon has always done really cool restoration work.
Thanks, dog.
Of some old stuff. And he didn't mention, but like he actually had to move the position of the bridge. Because where it was, I don't know, it wasn't correct. You could see that he had to push it back as well.
And I think the previous owner, I believe, put some sticky material, I don't know if it was glue or double-sided tape or something underneath that. And you don't need to do that because the tension of the strings is going to hold it in place. Unless you're just like, you're likely to knock it with your palm or something. Then you might do that. But yeah, I had to move it back a little bit for the intonation, especially because he had it a whole step down. We don't know how long he had it like that. It could have been like that for a long time. And you can see the
original
indention
picture
of where it was.
actually had 3 strings and 1 off. So I don't think it was like that for very long, but I think for a long period of time it didn't even have all the strings.
3
on
strings
it.
in the truth.
3 strings. Yeah, those are the money makers. You play above that, you don't get paid for the gig. Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that I was surprised about when I grabbed it too, which was going to be, I don't know, a difficult thing because of a pickup suspended in, on a top, because again, it's hollow. This pickup sounds awesome.
Yeah. It sounds great.
I thought it was like, I thought I was going to have to swap the pickup and it was going to be a whole thing. Stop.
Get a little pat on the butt.
Yeah, I should also say this, like, joking aside, that really wasn't a big deal, but like playing an acoustic bass, it's kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
It's like an acoustic guitar, but it's like just weird physics where it's like, I hope this doesn't pull out one day with the tension that's on, like, that's just me having nightmares. But you really feel what's going on with the instrument when you play it.
It's so cool to be able to sit down and it's not even volume up, and then you can have so much feedback. Without having a monstrous acoustic bass. Like, it's pretty cool to just be able to sit around and play it.
I mean, even if it was like unrepairable, unfixable, neck was warped, whatever, or it was, or you would have to rebuild half the guitar, and it would just be not worth it. Like, even if all that stuff had happened, it's still a cool couch bass.
It's a great couch bass
because it projects.
Like, it's super fun.
You go somewhere you don't have an amp, or you're just chilling out in your house. Like, my studio is separate from my house, so like if I want to practice in there, I don't need an amp. I can just sit around and have fun and play. So yeah. Well, how can the people find you?
You can find me on social media.
Okay.
GM.Guitarworks is my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to DM me
It's
if
down
you
below.
want to talk shop or got a bass or a guitar you want worked on. And then, email at gid.maki@gmail.com.
Also down below.
Yeah, and you have a website too, right?
I do not yet.
Oh, I
need to get it made. Yeah.
Eventually. We'll update it if it's there.
Amateur hour, yeah.
No, Instagram's the best. He has the great little bench. It's so like aesthetic too. Like all the stuff on the walls.
I've done a lot of work to make that little room and our 3-bedroom house feel like home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. We've been splicing in little videos of it of playing the instrument too. But we're going to go through the paces. It's a running joke now that we can't do any release without talking about my Noble. But just for a frame of reference, we've got this going through my Noble, and it's going into a 1073 preamp, the Heritage Audio Super 8. So that's what you're hearing, and it sounds gorgeous.
Yeah, and if you want, if you haven't been to this video yet, we do have a full video of only bass, no talk, none of that, none of this.
All bass, no talk.
All this.
Topical
joke.
Why use many word with few word, do whatever the office.
But yeah.
Thanks for being here, man.
Dude, thank you guys so much for having me. This is a blast.
I'll add you on LinkedIn. So.
Sweet.
I will add you on LinkedIn.
Baby.
I'm on LinkedIn.
I'm there.
I'm not. All right.
Bye.
See you.